80 years ago, this man held his pay slip up to the camera. Everything he was told and everything he actually got were on one piece of paper. This is the modern version. One page, one number, and the number is the whole conversation. $186,000. Here it is as money. One brick, $1,000. This is what a single software developer in San Francisco actually keeps. Not because of anything unusual, just tax, rent, and health insurance. We are going to subtract all three with the real numbers for 6 American cities. Most of what a high-cost city offers you turns out to be a reimbursement for living in it. And sometimes not even that. New York pays a developer more than Austin and leaves them worse off. First, whose salary? The median American software developer earns this, which is not the number you have seen online. They measure different things. The government counts straight-time pay, not stock, not most bonuses. Here is how big that gap is against the actual distribution of American software wages. The salary a lot of people think is typical sits above 9 out of 10 actual software wages. So we will be careful. Everything here is base salary, and we handle stocks separately at the end. California has not published next year's brackets, so those are last year's. We show every calculation. Right, let's start subtracting. Almost everybody misunderstands the first subtraction. Your tax bracket is not your tax rate. The first $16,100 is not taxed at all. Standard deduction. Now the staircase. Each step taxes only the income inside that step, not everything below it. And we run out of income partway, up the 24% step. That last sliver is her marginal rate. It is what the next dollar costs, not what the earlier ones cost. Flatten the whole staircase, and the real federal income tax is 18% of the salary. But income tax is not the only federal deduction. There is a second one, and it works the opposite way. Social Security takes 6.2%, and then it simply stops. So above the cap it stops, and the higher you climb, the smaller a share of your pay it is. In Seattle and Austin, there is no state tax to replace it, so the effective rate genuinely falls. Medicare is 1.45% and never stops. Above 200,000 there is another 0.9. Federal total, just over a quarter. And so far, this number is the same in every city in America. Same in San Jose, same in Austin, same in Raleigh. Now the cities start to diverge. Where you sit when you open your laptop is worth tens of thousands of dollars, and a state line decides it. California runs its own staircase, up to 12.3%. State disability insurance. It used to have a cap. In 2024, California removed it. For our engineer, that is another $15,700. Washington has no income tax at all. The staircase is not lower. There is not one. It is not quite free. Paid family leave and a care levy that has no cap either. Texas has no income tax and no state payroll levy at all. Here are all 5 side by side. New York has a state income tax, and then in the 5 boroughs, a second income tax on top of it. A tax that does not exist a mile and a half west, across the Hudson. North Carolina gave up on staircases. One flat rate on everything above $12,750. Now watch, same job, same title, the same $200,000 salary in all 6 cities. Austin keeps $149,000. New York keeps $130,000. $18,800 for the identical job at the identical salary, before rent. The single biggest line in the budget is not a tax. Rent is the only one of the 3 that is genuinely a choice, and the one that has moved fastest. A word on the number. This is the typical asking rent on the market now, not what a sitting tenant pays. San Jose and New York, $3,500 a month. Austin and Raleigh, under $1,500. Which over a year is the difference between a small car and a very good one. The same apartment in the same country costs 2.5 times as much depending on the airport. For our San Francisco engineer, that is $36,000 a year. Look at the size of it. Measured against what actually lands in the bank, rent takes nearly 2/5 of a New York take-home. Here is the part that stings. A $10,000 raise in San Francisco nets about $6,400. And it is the one line on this list that can change before you next renew a lease. Rent is also the only one of the 3 that can move 10% in a year. Tax rates do not. 2 subtractions down. The third subtraction is the strangest, because most people think it is free. On the pay stub it looks tiny, $120 a fortnight. That is her share. The full premium for one person is $9,300. You see about 1/6 of it. The rest never appears on anything you receive. And the premium is not the price. Before insurance pays anything, the average deductible is $1,800. So a healthy year with one real medical event costs $3,300 out of pocket. Here is what makes it different from every other line in this film. It is attached to the job. Quit or get laid off, and you can keep the plan for 18 months, paying all of it yourself. On the open market, the benchmark plan for a 40-year-old went up 26% this year. Because the enhanced subsidies expired at the end of 2025, and as of this July, Nothing has replaced them. The real cost does not fit on a pay stub. A lot of people stay in a finished job because of a deductible. And the offer letter is down to 46%. Everything at once. $186,000, San Francisco, and where it all goes. $85,139. Now do that for every city, using each city's own median salary. Here it is on gross pay. San Jose, San Francisco, Seattle, New York, then Austin and Raleigh. Subtract everything, all 6 at once in real time. 2 cities change places, and New York falls 4. New York pays $34,000 more than Raleigh, and the New Yorker ends the year $12,000 behind. Seattle pays $45,000 less than San Jose and ends the year level. The gap is simply gone. San Francisco pays 41% more than Raleigh. After everything, the advantage is 9. Fair warnings. This is base salary, a single filer, and asking rent. But it does say that the gross number on its own tells you almost nothing. One thing we set aside. For a lot of these jobs, most of the pay is not salary at all. Stock granted up front, delivered quarterly, and taxed as ordinary income the day it lands. Most employers withhold at a flat rate, not your rate, the 22% federal default. But it sits on top of everything else she earned, so the real federal income tax on it is 29.9. The difference is nearly $8,000 on one vest, discovered the following April. Add California and the uncapped disability levy, and that $100,000 really costs $42. 4 vests a year, 4 shortfalls, 1 bill. The fix is 1 line on 1 form, and almost nobody fills it in. If you want the number at the bottom to be bigger, here is what is worth doing in order of size. Rent. In the expensive cities, it is bigger than federal income tax, and it is the only one you fully control. The state line. $18,000 a year on a $200,000 salary for the same work. The $401K comes off the top of the staircase. It saves at her marginal rate but not on FICA, and it is taxed later. He held up his pay slip because it was 1 page and it told the truth. Yours is 3 documents, 2 governments, and an insurance company. The number you were offered is a headline. This is the number. Everything here is sourced, and every calculation is on screen.